Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Zen Lounge. We have another special edition for you guys tonight. It is Sunday evening, and we have some Sologenic content for you. We're going to be going deep into the charts and technical analysis with our friend from XBRW Solo. We're going to get deep into it. First, I want to share some information. Did you guys know that there's already been 1.2 million Solo burned? So this is a deflationary asset. It's the largest coin on the XRP ledger by market cap, and there's multiple news events to come. In this video, we're going to see what the charts are showing us, and we're going to also, there's a big week this week. There's multiple crypto bills. They're calling this crypto week in on Capitol Hill. So let's see what BRW Solo has to share with us, and he's going to be going deep into the charts. So I'm going to allow you to share your screen, bro, and yeah, excited to have you with us tonight.
Sweet. Thanks, Zen. Appreciate it. So can't see my chart yet, right?
No, I can see. Oh, now I can't.
Okay.
I could see it.
That
So you gotta pop it
was
back
my
up.
fault. Yep. All right, let's throw this back up here. All right, should be good.
Okay, yeah, we're
All
good.
right,
I can see it.
sweet, sweet. So yeah, so what I have here now is I have Sologenic on the left and I have XRP here on the right. And so what I want to do is I want to compare a very particular time in the XRP history, specifically that 2014 to 2017 run. And I'm going to try to emulate something about what I think Sologenic is doing. So first, let's dig into this because I think it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to throw some things here and I'm going to I'm going to write out some words here so you guys can see it on screen. So first, I'm going to do it like this. During this time, obviously with Sologenic, we clearly have a 399 million roughly, right? This is our supply. This is the supply we have on Sologenic. And now our market cap is at 38 million. And I'm going to correct one thing here. That 38 million market cap is going to be at your 9 cents. So it's around right here. I believe that's where I had that number here. But anyways, you see 300 million as a supply, 300 or 38 million as your market cap. All right. The reason why that's important is because if I draw this on XRP over here, and I have these notes, I'm just kind of copying over. We had at the time 300 billion in supply, and you had 230 million in market cap. So that's pretty interesting. So that was around that 2000, just prior to the 2017 run. So if I look, comparing the two here, it's somewhat similar. The only difference is that there's a 92 times supply greater on the XRP side. So it's 92 times greater. So big deal. Now, what I want to also do is I want to take apart this market structure here for a second, and I want you to just sort of follow me what I'm doing here. So since inception here with Sologenic, I'm looking for market structure. That's the trend line. If I do the same thing in the history of XRP, that's about right there, right? Just prior to this big move, you can see I have this market structure this here. So if I can find this other tool here, is what I'm trying to do is find this box. Oh, I have it right here. I'm going to highlight this little area. And I'm also going to do the same thing on this side, which would be right over here, just about right over there, right? It's not going to look apples to apples, but we're getting the idea down. Okay. So another interesting thing is I'm going to grab this path tool and I'm going to just say, we're not doing waves. We're not counting any of that stuff. All I'm doing is I'm just counting, just like kind of just making a path. That's all I'm doing. So go from 1, we got a high. We made a low. You had a little automatic rally here. And then this right here is your double bottom underneath the market structure. And now we have this point. And then a correction back to market structure. So a little differently on XRP, but the idea is the same. You shoot up, you come down, you make a lower low, you have the automatic rally, you have your bottom here, and then you actually had a wick there, but it got bought up a little hard, or sorry, a little hard, and it made, let me make sure I did that right. The double bottom may actually be right there. But anyways, there's a little similarities between the two in structure. All right. So what I'm seeing here is you have the market cap somewhat similar, although a little bit higher actually for XRP back in the day. And what's really interesting here is, we're going to try to project where we're going here for this next run. So all I'm going to do here is we're going to take Fibonacci, and just to give you an idea with Fibonacci, one more thing, Sologenic only uses one type of Fibonacci. There's no like trend fib extension. There's only just a regular Fibonacci. So it really gives us one way of calculating things, which is good, which is what we want. If I do the same thing here with XRP on the right side, I'm going to look for the low. Let's right around there. All right. So I wanted to draw it out for you because I wanted to really show you exactly how I got to this rather than how I usually do is just have it all there. So it gives you an idea of what's going on here. And what's interesting is it does sort of play out the same way because this last 5 months or so, and I believe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 or 6 months, this pattern right here is similar to XRP's. So Solo's pattern that we just had looks similar, and it's about the same amount of time. Oh, my camera fell. So now I'm going to get to the next part here, which I'm going to talk about is, all right, let's see here. We got the Fibonacci set up. We got the path. We got everything set up. Now what I want to talk about here is I want to grab the bars pattern tool here, and we're going to grab this right here. And so I'm going to do a little projection here, right? I'm not going to go up to this very top one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where it topped at the 1618. Make sure I grab that correctly. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to throw this onto here. And I'm just trying to give you an idea that if we really had to play with time, and I forgot to add one more thing. Sorry, I was just so focused on one other thing, is that I have these two orange columns, right? These lines right here. And the reason what these mean is that you have the Bitcoin halving on the first one, just like here in XRP. This was the Bitcoin halving in 2016. You have the Bitcoin halving here in 2024. What happened in the middle, just right after it, was the Trump election. So Trump was elected both times right after that halving. And then what I'm trying to do is I'm going to measure two more things to give you just more ideas about why I think this is building up to be a lot bigger than you think. Is if you look at XRP and from the time of inception, this thing prior to it blowing up, 42 months, right? That's how long this thing took. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll just actually draw it out like this. So we have 42 months of consolidation growth. This was just accumulation phase, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next, I'm going to measure Solo. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to start from inception and how long this took to really grow before we think the pop's going to happen. It's about 64. So it's about 20 months over, but that's a good thing. Okay. It's just more time to accumulate, more time to get ready for the next big move. So it's interesting that there's similarities with these patterns right here, right? And so even in the Fibonacci's, you can even see how in the zones, it's pretty similar within its zones, right? I mean, it's about in the red for the most part in Solo, then it gets into the yellow. Same thing with XRP. You're in the red, you're going to the yellow. And now we're waiting for that next move. But here's the thing. If we're going to calculate the time between the halving to 18 months, which is generally how long the tops go for from the halving, is about 18 months, right? Takes you to October of this year. October is an interesting time frame. plus or minus a month, the top could be, because my thesis is resting on the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. So if the 4-year cycle is coming to an end, this would make a lot of sense to me. So if I do the same thing over here, it's again, just to prove it to you, 18 months. So we have 18 months on one side, 18 months. And this is where it topped. I mean, it's just about one, just about. So now what I'm going to do, since I have this fractal here from XRP, that would mean that we could have a really awesome epic month and we could be an explosive move. It could be if we're going to repeat XRP's move. But the thing is, $111 might not hold, although it could wick. It is very interesting that it is in that area. Another thing is, I did talk about this, was the GAN fan. And I want to really just throw this out here, because this is my favorite tool right now. So if I throw this from swing low to swing high, you can see that matches near that 1618, matches where the GAN fan would top. I can't really use a GAN fan for this, but I can use a trend line. And so let me throw that out here. And if I throw this line right here to there, you have a lot of touch points. And you can see that from the high here, when we started to develop this accumulation structure and we started to shoot up, the 1618, we actually got rejected on this trend line. But to me, I'm trying to recreate a GAN fan. And so I'm trying to recreate this trend line for Sologenic, right? And trying to make sure they match here, and to make sure that the 1.618 actually has, congruence with all this. So to me, it's making a lot of sense, right? So another thing is, I'm going to do one more thing, and this is a weird thing. I don't like to really use these tools often. This is just like the last thing. The weird thing is, if I do a fib circle from swing high to that's actually swing lows right there. Look at this ring right here. I mean, it got rejected. It respected it, rejected. And as it broke this again, that was your last month hoorah. But I don't think we're going to have that in Solo's case, sorry. But you can see how the ring is respecting this circle the whole way, right? I mean, it respects it here because there's turbulence on this ring from the SEC. And then one more shot up, again to this yellow line. So if I did the same thing on Sologenic, and again, we're getting crazy with these lines, I'm throwing everything out here. I'm going to go swing low to swing high. You can almost see that we are actually out of that bound of that 1618. So if I actually move this to show you, we're shooting up right there. So this is what I expect to happen, is like a move straight to, and look at that ring. It takes you to this point right here. It's around $66. So if this ring was a rejection point, that would make a lot of sense. Although we could touch 111, that's $111 at the 618 right here. Maybe we don't close there, of course not. But I would expect that we would probably consolidate for many, many months, maybe 6 to 12 months in this range. It's not going to be a sell-off like people think. It's a product coin now. We're not in the speculative phase. But I'm going to end it on this last note here, is that I think that Bitcoin is the new gold. XRP is the new Bitcoin. So what's going to be the new XRP? Well, in my mind, it's going to be Sologenic. And that's why I think we're going to have a big move like this. It makes sense when you have the supply the way they are. And when when XRP shot up, it shot up, from $230 million to $130 billion. So we're not going to hit 130 billion, but we could at least do something really good, right? I mean, our supply is, like I said, 92x smaller. So why wouldn't we come to these numbers around, on average $60, $66? So I'll leave it at that. That was a lot of information.
Yeah, man, this is super bullish. So, there's nothing else you want to go into your long-term outlook? Do you want to go into like the short term? Like, what's the next target? I've seen that you had some posts showing charting for You're looking at 67 cents, right? The next target point.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into
So
that or is that too
yeah,
soon?
no, totally. Let's do it.
Okay,
Let's do
yeah.
it. What I'm gonna do is I gotta move this so
I
I can
think you
hit the
said you
right.
had your post saying it probably go to 67 and consolidate around 61 cents, yeah?
Yeah, I could do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get back to the shorter time frames here, and I'm gonna try to recreate this chart here for a second. So if we're let's actually go, I'm gonna go back onto the weekly here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw this fib again, and I'm gonna go swing high to swing low. And so what we're doing, and again, just so you have an idea of how I actually create these and look at these, is I usually go on the monthly. This is where I do everything. And let me just move this bar that's in my way. All right. So again, we'll start on the monthly and we're going to try to like dissect this entire chart here. And we're going to get to the short time frame from here. So I have structure here. And as you can see, we're building up in these fib levels. And what I'm trying to see is us hold this 39. So I think we're doing a great job. We may actually, I was thinking we would come down and touch this 39. We still may, we may not. But the thing about it is, if you look at the oscillators, we're a little hot on the daily. Does it mean that it's going to end right now? No, I mean, it may not. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, but it is getting hot, right? So if we have a cool down period, then it makes sense that we could have that. But at the same time, time is not on our side, especially if we're going to follow that 4-year thesis. And so I would expect right now for us to move up the layers, right? So 67 cents is right here. And what I'm thinking about 250, the reason why I'm calling for 250 is because if you look, oh, there it is. The 786 is right there. It's 250, right? Generally, when you break out, you get rejected around the 50, recorrect. Your next move will be this 50 line here, but it's going to be there pretty quick. And especially since these moves have been quite impulsive, well, it's not going to gradually get there. It's going to get there quick, right? I mean, what example here do we go up that it's not impulsive? I mean, these are impulsive moves. The only
Yeah.
way that, right? The only way that I would assume that this is the top and we're done is if we're starting another correction, right? But you can even throw GANFAN actually on here. And I got to find out a lot of tools here. You can throw that over here. And I could throw this down here. And remember, I talked about that golden line being perfect with the breakout, right? Right there. That's a perfect breakout. Here's another reason why we stopped, right?
That is a perfect breakout. Wow.
Yeah, not only just, I mean, it retested it, broke out. You have the 4-1 line, right?
Yeah.
So what's the next target? I mean, you're looking at right around, yeah, 67 to hit the 8-1 line. Well, when is this going to happen? To me, I actually measured this on Corium. Corium has a delay between what solo price action does and itself. So one can actually lead each other. So there's actually a 7 to 10 day delay between the two. So Corium hasn't moved, but I would expect Corium to move next week. In this case, if this is going to move with the rest of the market, well, at least 65 cents for the short term next week before we see 250. But yeah, it will come quick. Another thing I'll add is this not total three, but others. We're going to talk about this for a second because I actually had these lines set up for others on the weekly. And if you see, I mean, this is since 2021 crash. This is the entire run up. But this line right here, that's holding. That's holding. That's a hold right there. This is a hold right there. It's desperate, right? So if we have to get to the 8-1 line and meet the next fib level, that's a huge gain. This is a gain of over, it's like $70 billion that's added to just altcoins excluding top 10, right? So to me, that's a big deal. And it's a big momentum shift for altcoins. And then it takes away dominance from Bitcoin, a little bit from XRP, actually. So this is the first move that I'm thinking is right there, because when we shoot up from here, it should go quite parabolic, which takes us to that other move that I was showing you for Sologenic to hit some astronomical numbers.
Wow. Wow, man, this is exciting times to be in the market. It's exciting times, especially I was looking at some report the other day that it seems like not only Solo's in the right sector. So the real world asset watch list posted in just a week. RWA tokens market cap jumped from 49 billion to 63 billion, adding 14 billion in value in less than a week. So they're calling for an RWA season, which Sologenic is not only primed, it's not a speculative RWA coin. They have their product launching next month. So there's many good narratives going with this coin, and then the charts like you're showing are absolutely primed. Yeah, man, I trust. I've been going. I saw your chart with the 67 cents, and it looks like that's going to be some easy money. Remember, none of this is financial advice. This is us just chatting as homies. But yeah, but you're calling for $2.50. Even better than 67 cents. So I guess
Yeah.
67 cents is like the modest conservative way to look, like the short term. So like when would you, so you think we could have an impulsive pump to like $2.50 and that's also in the short term?
Yeah. So I'm really trying to use these weekly or monthly GAN fans. Let's even go on the 2 week here. Um, what this move that's coming up here, it's pretty interesting because I mean, look, we could touch $3,
$3? Holy
close under
crap.
250. There was some interesting I just remembered actually, which I had to look back here for XRP. So the chart that I just drew, right? There was something that happened here, if you can see that right there. So we shot up. That's actually that level that would be the 257, or 27. I'm sorry, 250. My bad. That's that fib level, same fib level that we're just talking about, the 250 for solo. And what's interesting is I think this is a 30% correction, right? So let's try to add time and let's try to put certain things in that time frame. So let's talk about it like this. If August we have SOLOTEX getting released, right? Then in that case, you would have the run up for uh, the SOLOTEX run up, right? This would be kind of the sell the news event, maybe September week correct, right? Well, then you're going to have the rest of the market move up for maybe October, right? And that would be your last move. And this is right here. This is 1 month. These two candles together. There's two candles. There's 2 weeks. 2 weeks there, 2 weeks here. That's a 1 month right there. That's how fast. So you can have August, September correction, and then you can have an October move all the way up to your $60, whatever. It would catch people off guard so hard, right? I mean, people wouldn't know what to do. I mean, it'd be euphoria. It would be the greatest time to sell and maybe reposition. But the thing is, I don't believe we're going to have a strong correction. We're probably going to have a corrective sideways consolidation because I think what's going to happen in next year is that we'll start making another leg up. And that's the way I see it for now, subject to change. But I just think that Solo is going to be doing this little pattern here for a while. Just if it's relying on the 4 year, Bitcoin halving timeline.
Yeah, when I was talking to Bunny, I think you seen my video. He was saying the next 45 days, like it's time to lock into crypto because it's going to be ridiculous. Like he's very bullish too for like the next 45 days, just being like some like. Do you think the same thing as him?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
everything Bunny says is on point. I actually like the guy a lot. I get to learn a little bit even from him. He's really good at the Elliott ways, but everything he's saying, I like it. It's just like I feed off him. I wonder if he feeds off me a little bit, because there's that, something. His energy is very similar to mine.
Yeah.
Um, he's very good at articulating things better than I am, but he makes a lot of sense. I watch what he says, and you know,
But you're also just starting with doing like audio and video content. So he's been
yeah,
doing a
yeah.
lot. So yeah,
Yeah,
you'll
usually
get
I'm
it.
behind the phone. I'm always posting things, right? So,
Yeah. So you'll get
uh,
your articulation as you do more content.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on and all this stuff. I'm glad I could talk about it and all this stuff. I really want to just help the community understand what's going on because really, I do feel like I got so much experience on the charts. I know what's going on. It's really trying to make it simple. And the people I deal with on a regular basis, we do technical stuff. I try to articulate it simply, and being simple is a little extra work, because this is not simple stuff.
Let's before wrapping this up, let's keep this short and sweet. Let's zoom in on the short term real quick again about those 67 and 250 targets real quick so people could look in. So well, it seems like you have much bigger dreams for this project. Are you personally going to be taking any profits in that range of 67 to 250, or are you going to wait for much higher targets?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on one big indicator to really give me an idea when to sell. It's not, you don't predict price. You don't ever, that's one of the rules in charting, is that
Okay.
no one really picks a price. Although we have reasons, like we just discussed, why certain prices we think are going to hit, but ultimately just let the oscillators give you the call. And
Okay.
so this is the RSI on the monthly for Sologenic. And just look how long we've been down here for. I mean, this is years. This is the beginning of 2022. And I think I've shared this before, but you break out the next thing that's supposed to happen is a retest, which is what we got right on the 50 line. And so we're on our way up, right? If it's going to be a big move like what's happened here, fine. That's kind of what we expect. But a big move anywhere around this 80, once we're at 80, then I'm thinking about selling. Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, this Fibonacci structure that you're seeing here, I'm not even thinking about selling anything under 22 because
Wow.
we're respecting the Fibonacci's very well, right?
Okay.
18 cents right there. That's one of the ways I look at it. If I were to see Sologenic go right like maybe $10 and that's the top, well, that would be a terrible project. I mean, you got to kind of think
Do you think $10 would be bearish?
$10 is terrible for the project. It would actually
Right.
destroy the project because you need to have some sort of, so think of it like this. You have to create like a trend line, some sort of regression analysis for the next 15 years. So if you go 15 years, you have to identify what do you think that trend line could look. That's why I like this GAN fan over here, because this is sort of giving me the idea, well, like I talked about before, the red line, rejection, red line, rejection. We're going to be going towards this trend, which is where the red line is the flattest. You have the golden line as your most steepest, but it's going to be within this range. It's going to go this way, 45 degrees, right? And so it's going to create something where we can interpret that. And so I would expect a big impulsive move, and then you create this 45-degree channel. To get technical is the way I'm saying this, but yeah, we're going to have to go move up to create some sort of trend, right? It can't just move sideways. This isn't like, a commodity.
Right. Right. So your first targets you're looking at selling is around $22. I think a lot of people listening to this are going to be really happy. They're going to be grabbing the calculator and seeing how much their portfolio is going to be worth at that number. And for most of the people, it's going to be insane. So
Yeah. Actually, if you don't mind, I'll add one more thing. I
yeah,
did
let's get into it.
a lot of the math for you guys here. This is something I spent a long time on, which you see the XRP to solo pairing, right? This is that falling or rising wedge. And so we're trying to figure out if this is the month that it drops. If you want to know what's going to happen, you can take XRP's price and you can take Sologenic's price and you can do some math and try to see if it makes sense. So if XRP tops out at $8.80, or what did I say, $8 somewhere, $8 to $10, right? Well, then you really can't have $111 solo. Why? Because the number would actually take you way below here. If you have a $16, and if I do the math, for example, let's just do the math. I think it's $16.60 is what I did the math for, $1 trillion market cap, which to me makes the most sense for where the minimum target for where XRP could be. And you divide that by, let's say, $111. If I were to add a line there, let me put that coordinate there. So I go 0.149. That can make sense because there's a wick there, right? But let's say we have, instead of $1660 XRP, we see a $28 XRP. If we have a $28 XRP at $111, I already did the math. That's actually at the base down here. So now it's making more sense. So I'm trying to justify, can these numbers make sense? Do we just need to retest this base again? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Or is Solo going to be weaker? I don't think so. I think Solo is going to be a lot stronger, but it needs to kind of still match the pattern that it's here. It needs to follow the rules of support and resistance. It cannot just do its own thing. I mean, it's so if we go lower, I would say this is the lowest area we'd go to if we were to ever retest this area. But then you have these other support and resistance lines, and we're going to watch all this stuff. So with trying to be simple about it, we need a high XRP price. We absolutely need a high XRP price in order for Solo to move, because of course a lot of that liquidity is going to get rotated over. So it also makes sense that way.
So that's the bull case for a triple digit solo.
Yeah, yeah, that would.
Shit, man. Let's go. Let's go. Anything else that we should cover before? I know it's late over there, so anything else we should cover tonight?
You know, I'm looking at all these coins here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the market. How soon are we going to move? I feel like we're ready to go. If I look at XRP, one more thing, maybe really quick. Another GAN fan line, swing high to swing low. What this is XRP dominance versus the market. Rejected since the entire year, perfectly on the line. Now we're starting to break out. So what I'm trying to see now, what I'm seeing actually is XRP might actually take a lot of the dominance back again. So let's see if this move holds. It's a monthly. We got to wait for next month. But it would be really nice to see a lot of the market share go to XRP. And then that's even better for Solo, right?
Yeah, man, that's amazing.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything. I just say wait. We'll kind of reassess everything, next time. A lot of information there. I'm even overwhelmed myself.
Yeah, we went deep into the technical of this video, so I
Yeah, we
appreciate you
did.
coming on. And if you guys want to stay up to date with BRW Solo's charting and his Twitter posts, I'm going to put his link in the description below. So make sure to give him a follow, show him some love. He posts almost basically every day. Yeah,
Yeah, I try to.
cool. Well, yeah, give him a follow, support BRW Solo, and let's stay locked in. The next 45 days could be life-changing for us. So make sure you guys are not distracted because this type of opportunity only comes, based on what he's saying, every 4 years. So we'll see what's going to happen. I'm locked in. I will see you guys next video. Peace.